And welcome back to the People Stage. It's been a whopping minute. We've had some amazing talks and experiences already. And now I know I'm really excited to hear about the experiences of our next amazing speaker. Tricia is the president of the Virtual Founder. Tricia, I'm inviting you to stage now, and we'd love to hear what it's like to launch a brand new technology.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to work on sharing my screen. Now, can you see the slideshow?
Perfect.
Can you see the title screen there?
What it's like to launch a brand new technology.
Yes, perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, as Sarah said, my name is Tricia Sees. I'm the president of the Virtual Foundry, and I'm very pleased and excited to be with you here today, talking about the experience of launching a brand new technology. Now, the Virtual Foundry has a podcast. Those episodes are on YouTube if you want to see those. So in keeping with my standard opening, I do need to tell you that I'm in southern Wisconsin, USA. The time is 11:31 a.m. and the temperature here is a very cold 9 degrees. That's not even a real temperature. It's also minus 12 degrees Celsius for you Celsius users. We're right in smack dab in the middle of winter. Now, if you've seen any of our podcasts, you'll also recognize the familiar ending today as well. So let's take a look at the agenda. You're going to learn a little bit about FFF Metal, which is the technology that the Virtual Foundry has created. I'm going to talk about the launch experience and offer some advice for you as you launch your own products. And we have about a half an hour together, so I'll talk for about 20 minutes. We'll have some time for Q&A. And my hope is that you'll feel inspired to launch your own products and that you'll feel armed with some good advice to help you be successful in it. First, a little bit about me. Now, I'm a trier. So here you can see me deadlifting 340 pounds. That's 154 kilograms. Now, that was back in 2015, almost 7 years ago. Those muscles are long gone now. And then there's that time that my husband and I appeared on the Conan O'Brien show. My brief modeling stint for a local boutique, that's me in the middle. I'm also really involved in my community. And here's the Hubs and I at our city's 17. Mai celebration. And Stoughton does claim the largest 17. Mai celebration outside of Norway. And in 2020, I was honored with the City of Stoughton Volunteer of the Year Award. Now, while all of that was going on, Brad Woods was in his basement, also in Stoughton, inventing various things and messing around with metal. He was working on different ways of manipulating metal without using extreme heat and without melting it. And he was having some successes. And then a friend of his bought him his very first 3D printer. It's that very machine you see here, a PrinterBot Simple Wood. And that was his aha moment. After he printed his very first object in plastic, he knew that that technology needed to be able to print metal to have the most impact possible. Now, thankfully, Brad and I knew each other. I'd been friends with his wife for many years, and she was telling me what he was up to. And this is the result of his efforts. What Brad invented is a metal-filled or glass-filled or ceramic-filled 3D printing filament that works in common off-the-shelf 3D printers. The material prints very similarly to PLA, and that resulting green print has that same mix of metal powder and plastic binder. So that green part will debind with just heat. You're debinding it and sintering it in common kiln equipment. Of course, this is just a basic description because the presentation really is about the experience, not the technology. But check out the Virtual Foundry for more information, especially our YouTube channel, or hit me up with an email or phone call, and I'd be happy to talk with you more about it. So Brad had begun showing filament and these prints to people, to the world, while also making it, selling it, keeping the books, quote unquote. And he got to a place where both the science and the business were starting to suffer. So he called me in for a meeting and he popped the question. Now, I mentioned that his wife had been telling me about the project, so I knew about it. And I understood what it meant. I understood the potential, and I had always wanted to be a part of it. So when the opportunity came, I immediately said yes, and our partnership began. Brad handles all the science. I handle all the business. Now, it hasn't necessarily been a walk in the park. There have been several challenges. In my first days with the Virtual Foundry, which was mid 2017, I walked into an unfinished Kickstarter campaign and an unfinished project creating these trophies that you see on the screen for the 3D the 3D Printing Industry Awards. Now, look at this thing. Knowing what I know now, this was a crazy shape to pick. So this is sintered copper, printed on a standard FDM printer, debound and sintered in a standard kiln, and we needed 27 of these things, but we got it done. We went on a year-long investor search, and we were unsuccessful while we watched the competition get hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. Now, one of the reasons that we were unsuccessful is that we didn't have a defined market. All the investors wanted one. Now, we know who you are now, but we first had to make that space and see who came forward to fill it. And it just made us work harder. And all of us have been surprised at how long it's taking for this technology to take hold in the marketplace. Now, I love this quote by Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this showed up, this attitude showed up when Brad first began sharing what he'd made. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 stages of the filament introduction and acceptance in the marketplace. So when he first started introducing it, showing prints that he'd made, people didn't believe it was real. They said that he was saying and showing them something and telling them something, but he had actually made it a different way, a more traditional way. So they scoffed, they didn't believe it. Well, we keep going. On to stage 2. Everyone accepts that it was real. Okay, it's cool, but there's no use for that. What would anyone ever do with it? Thankfully, we continue to move forward into stage 3, where we've got this awesome group of people really engaged and working with the materials. So they want to figure it out. So we're very heavily in stage 3 right now and moving into stage 4. So then the last stage is that the technology, the material, the processes are a regular part of workflows and workplace activities. So you can see in stage 4, I have a set process, and filament is an important part of it. Now we are squarely, as I said, well into stage 3, slowly moving into stage 4 over time. We do have a couple of folks who use the technology, use the process as a regular part of their workflows. But we are really heavily in the research segment. So universities, national labs, research segments of the military, all working with the material. What new things can be done? What old problems can we now solve with these new possibilities? So I spoke about the challenges. There have been many successes as well. For one, competition arrived. And they were well funded, as I mentioned. And their funding got them some awesome graphics and really great marketing. So they worked diligently to convince the marketplace that FDM FFF Metal was real, valid, viable. A rising tide lifts all boats. So we were able to come along with that. And we no longer need to convince people that this is real and it works. Another thing, another element of our success was hiring a business coaching company. And they help with business education, with perspectives that we might miss. And they're also just excellent cheerleaders and keeping us going every single day. We've received broad support from organizations all over the world. And our partnership is strong. So Brad and I work really well together, I handle the business. He manages the science. Thankfully, he's great at breaking down complex science concepts in ways that I can understand it and then explain it again to others. So I have become sort of a vicarious scientist through him. Now, we have had to shift our perspectives over time. For one, we thought that we would show people this technology and they would immediately write us big fat checks. No. Over the years, I've thought and hoped that there would be a bunch of different magic fairies that would come and save us. Come and save us from having to do sales. Come and save us from having to do marketing. Come and save us from having to figure out finance. And come and save us from or help us find an investor search. No. And additionally, time continues to march on. It's still taking longer than any of us thought it would to get this technology out into the world, especially as bootstrappers. So we have to change our expectations. We have to learn new skills and execute on those skills. In short, we have to save ourselves. We have to be our own magic fairies, and there is great power in that. We are still in our process, but we've learned a lot along the way. Now, as you get ready to launch your own awesome products out into the world, I do have some tips for you. The first one is to read, learn, grow, get a coach, and develop some sort of daily mindset practice that works for you. You can see here a picture of Jim Rohn, who's an American business person and motivational speaker. And he says that you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I have found that to be absolutely true. Your business will only grow as much as you grow yourself. Now, if you need book suggestions, I do read a lot. I post reviews of all the books that I read on LinkedIn. So you can look at my LinkedIn profile for book suggestions or reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to share what I've learned and offer some suggestions for your next steps. Also, you do need a business and you need business knowledge, at least finance and marketing, because a product without a business is just a knick-knack on a shelf. It's important to have a partner because we can always accomplish more as a team than we can by ourselves. And also, don't be afraid of the arrival of competition. They make you better. In sports, there's a phrase that you play up to the competition, and in business, that's true as well. Now, it's important that you base your own decisions on your own vision and not on what your competition is doing. But don't be afraid of what they're doing. Keep your eyes on your own prize and move forward. And there are no magic fairies. I keep having to learn this lesson over and over. There are no magic fairies. You have to save yourself. You have to be your own magic fairy. And especially, never give up. You have to believe in your ability to figure it out, and all of you can. This process has been extremely rewarding and also very challenging. And there have been some days that I've looked for a reason to come back to work the next day. And this is a list of some of those things that have helped me coming back. And the big one is 3 feet from gold. So the graphic here is an illustration of that story. You can see the person on the bottom got so close to the gold, but it didn't happen in his time frame. So he gave up and walked away. Whereas the person on the top is diligently working, chipping away day by day, moving forward. And he's going to make it there. Because you only fail if you stop trying. Some days it's been the future that my husband and I are planning together. There's always been that little wish in the back of my mind. If I could just get in on the ground floor of something. Well, here I am, and I believe in what we're doing. And also, what else would I do? For the first couple of years, it was that I don't know enough to go somewhere else and do what I'm doing. And now it's, I know too much to go somewhere else and do what I'm doing. Now that I've had a taste of entrepreneurship and fallen in love with it, it's way too late for me to go be someone else's employee. There have been times when I always believed that this technology needs to exist. It benefits the world in many ways. And there has been a time or two that I've believed that if I stop, it stops. Of course, we know that's not true. All people are replaceable. Someone else could come in and do this job. But on those days when I need it, I can call upon that belief to bring me back in, to re-inspire me, to re-motivate me to keep going. And finally, faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in our offering, faith in the change that this technology can make in the world, and faith in our company to survive and thrive into the future. So what's next? Well, for the Virtual Foundry, it's about building a community, and we want you to be a part of it. And you can join the Virtual Foundry discussion in many ways. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And that TikTok symbol is way out there next to the very scared person, because I am a little scared of TikTok, but I'm going to figure it out. And we will be on TikTok sooner, more so than later. And we also have a discourse user forum where people who are interested in and using FFF Metal come together, share their projects, talk through questions with each other. And for me, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you, or email me directly at Tricia@thevirtualfoundry.com. We can talk through the technology. I would be happy to talk through your goals for your own product that you're launching. And I invite you to invite me to speak at your club, school, or event. Public speaking is one of my retirement plans. And while I do have a few years before retirement, it's something that I always really enjoy doing. I am going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, but I do have one more very important question for you before I wrap up and open up the floor to questions. And that is, why don't scientists trust atoms? Well, the answer is because atoms make up everything. So thank you, everyone. I would love to hear your thoughts. Answer any questions. I do see that there's one in the Q&A here, so we'll check that out. Growing our business knowledge, do you have a recommendation as to resources or where to start? Yes, there are lots. There are a million books out there about business, and most of them separate into different topics, marketing, for example, or sales, for example. But you might start with the E-Myth. I'll type that into the chat. That's going to give some general business knowledge. Thank you, Dawn, for calling it a mom joke instead of a dad joke. That's great. The E-Myth is a good place that's going to talk about all around business stuff. It'll touch on many different areas. I do see some other people left their temperatures here, and I love that. So one of my favorite things about this work is working with people from all over the world. And I always need to know what temperature it is wherever they are. Okay, Sarah, we have about 10 more minutes. There she is.
Yeah, Tricia, that's incredible. Oh, looks like we've just got another question in for you, asking if you can recycle the finished product.
So what you would do with the finished product is handle it any way that you would the base material that it is. So for example, if it's a copper print, you would do whatever you would do with copper. The binder that's in the filament is PLA compliant. So that's going to be biodegradable as PLA is.
Great. We love a recyclable product, and obviously that's a great benefit for bringing new manufacturing techniques into everything. I know I've seen some virtual foundry prints at events for a while, and they really look incredible and feel great. So we love to see that. We've got a follow-up to the recycling question about how you separate it.
Separating the binder from the metal, that would be, well, you would go through that debind process. So that's a heat process in a standard kiln. When the temperatures get up to about 900F, and I don't have my Celsius conversion handy for that temperature. But when the temperature gets up to about 900F in the kiln, that binder has sublimated out and that's gone. And then you're left with just that base material.
It's 482 degrees Celsius.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, 482 Celsius.
I'm here for those quick conversions. And by me, I mean Google.
Yes. Google has been my friend in making all of those temperature conversions. I'm getting better at Celsius to Fahrenheit. I could not do kilometers to miles, though.
Yeah. 28 is 82 for degrees. That keeps me going. And 0 is 32. The more you know. We're helping on all fronts today here at TIPE. Tricia, if you have any additional words of wisdom, we welcome them. If there are any links you'd like to throw in the chat for the resources you've mentioned, we'd love to share those. And otherwise, I would love to, catch up with you on the networking floor. 35C is 95F. We've got another great one. And we do have one more question then before we wrap it up. Average percent fill of metal of a finished product.
So the average percent, that's an interesting question. Each of our materials, there are about 14 or 15, are loaded at a different percent. So the highest is our tungsten, which is about 94, 95% by mass. So the numbers that I'm saying will all be by mass. The lowest is our 4060 Amico clay ceramic, and that's more like 40% by mass. And then they range all in between. The steels are in the lower 80s, copper and bronze are in the low 90s. Aluminum is more like 60 and titanium is more like 60. We are able to also make custom filaments. So nearly any solid material, we can put that into a 3D printing format as well. And the material loading is dependent on the particle size distribution. So we're looking for the highest apparent density paired with the lowest surface area that we can get.
Okay, that is really good to know. And I'm very impressed at all of those percentages that you keep top of mind. So thank you, Tricia, so much for your time today. It's been really wonderful to hear from you and learn about everything that you have been through with launching this new technology. And we welcome you to join at the networking tables. We've got one more panel on the people track before we open those up broadly. And we'll take a little bit break here. Hope to see you all again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.